biggest problem that I see today, whether it be in the military and law enforcement dealing with firearms, is they're about 20 years behind the curve when it comes to teaching new techniques. You want hips and shoulders square to the target, okay? Don't roll the shoulders around, okay? Relax the arms, okay? I want to feel that back there. Look at the target. I want to feel where you need to be at. Bring the gun straight up, okay? So now you have good extension. You're more consistent on doing this every single day than you are a weaver. 95% of most people hold a handgun, they hold it incorrectly in their hand. And the reason why I feel it's very comfortable to put their first joint of the trigger of their finger into the trigger itself. So I'm getting you to place the pistol into the web of your hand correctly so it's all in line. The front sight should be in line with the tip of the elbow. So if I lay the pistol down and it's unloaded, you'll notice that it's square in the middle of my wrist. As you point the gun to the target, as we bring our support hand in, we want to make sure that the higher we are to the center of the bore of the gun, the more control we have over the gun. So by placing this higher to the beaver tail area, thumb on top of safety, placing your support hand, making contact on the entire side of the support side of the weapon. So placing your fingers along the bottom of the trigger guard, laying it along so we encompass the entire side of the gun. So we're wrapping, making contact on all four corners of the pistol itself. We'll notice that these two are parallel across from each other.
Right.
So if you grab in the gun next time and your thumb's sticking here or it's back up against here, it's not aligned. This gives you alignment, it does. It tells you exactly where your finger is at all times. So if you draw the gun and shoot, so if I draw the gun and shoot the target, and I go like, how is my grip? Oh, my extension here is perfect across here. So I draw again and I go like, oh my God, it's not correct.
Right.
What happened that time? So I do it again, I go like, oh my God, look where my thumb is. That tells me that my support hand is not being consistent each and every time, whether I'm drawing the gun or just picking the gun up off the table. As I point the gun down range, I like to take both thumbs and point them in the direction of the target. We can accomplish this by allowing our support thumb to be in line with the forearm. This allows the gun to be placed in the proper place each and every time, so the gun will return to the target with more consistency each and every time. Look where you want the bolt to go at and bring the gun straight up. That's the extension that you're looking for here. Placing your finger on the trigger itself is also very important because the bullet is being launched out of the barrel this position, and we're also pulling the trigger pose of the gun straight back to the gun. So as it comes straight back to the gun, we want the bullet to pass correctly in the barrel without moving the front end of the gun. So what we're going to do is we're going to place our finger on the pad of the trigger itself. Placing on the pad allows us only to use the first two joints of the trigger itself. As we press it to the rear, we do not want to influence the knuckle itself. So if you move in, you have a tendency to influence that knuckle, which allows that 7 o'clock push at times. Bring the finger out so that only the nail area is on the pad of the trigger itself. You'll find that you'll have better luck with it on the pad than if you travel through and get into the first joint of the pistol. Doesn't matter if it's a semi-auto or a double action or a single action pistol. Aim dead center of the target, maybe slightly higher, 3/4 high. Look up at the target. I want you to look at that sight crystal clear. You just keep looking at it, crystal clear. The target should be slightly fuzzy as you press the trigger to the rear. As you pull, press, yes. Your sight is your best friend. Crystal clear, the target slightly fuzzy. Press to the rear, one hair at a time. You got it, one hair at a time. Sights, crystal clear. That dictates the speed in which you shoot the target. Shooting on move, it's not hard, it's harder. Well, of course, anybody can do this at this close range right here. I'm going to show you some techniques to allow you to shoot in many different directions with your handgun and also your rifle. So let's get started on learning how to get your footwork properly done on the range. Understanding footwork will be very important here. What we want to try to accomplish when we're going down the range is make sure that both our feet are right one foot in front of the other. Think about walking down a balance beam. We're trying to eliminate our left and right position because we don't want the gun bouncing right and left. We just want it to move up and down. And we do that by allowing our feet to go 1 foot in front of the other, and then we pick up the pace depending on your skill level. Now I'm going to show you how to shoot moving backwards. You'll find that you're a lot more accurate moving backwards because you're on your toes and your heels longer. When moving or shooting backwards, you'll find your sights will be much more level and calmer as you go through the stage. Now, you've learned 2 different directions to go in. Now, let's do a 45 angle off right and left. And understanding that when you're going in that direction, make sure your feet are going to the box and your gun's pointed at the target. Just like a tank tracking down, the turret moves, the tracks go in the direction you want to go in. Let's give it a try. Now, if you notice that my feet are going in direction of the box, look at my upper body. It's pointing at the target. Now, just demonstrate it moving to the left on an angle. Go to the right, you do the opposite thing. Just make sure you keep your hips pointing in that direction. Now, let's talk about parallel to the targets, one of the most difficult and hardest things to do. When moving parallel, you'll find that you need to make sure that your hips are pointing in the direction you're going in, or the opposite direction. You'll find that as soon as you feel like you get caught up in a knot, we can actually turn and shoot on the move backwards, parallel. Now, the most difficult of all the positions that we have showed you here today, moving from right to left as a right-handed shooter. You have to lower your center of gravity in order to hit the targets consistently with some speed. We're now in the range practicing on the move. Right-handed shooters should practice from right to left. Left-handed shooters should practice from left to right. Shooting on the move can definitely increase your shooting skills. Guess what? I got a pepper popper back here at 75 yards away. Let me see if I can knock it down with my 45. Today's lesson is learning how to go prone. What we're going to try to do is incorporate all the things that you may not never see when shooting prone, with really odd techniques, with a rifle and also a handgun. So let's get started on how to get on the ground. A couple things we need to learn prior to going prone. Before we draw that gun, we want to make sure that the gun is pointing in that target as we're going down. Never let the gun go behind you as you're going in prone position, or never pointing at the ground. If you fire at the ground, you could get debris to come back up at you. That would not be a good thing. Now, let's talk about how to get down on the ground properly. Now, once we've loaded up and we're going to go down range, we want to make sure we draw the gun out. This is the first thing we want to do. We want to take our holster side, our strong side, and our support side leg, go down and capture the ground at the same time. You notice that my support leg now is kind of squatted over there, over top of me. This allows the gun to come right down top of my face here, allow my support hand to come in and drive the gun straight to the target. The longer the sight radius we have, the more control we will have over the gun when the gun is on the ground shooting. You need to get back up, get up the same way you went down. Now we're going to show you how to get down in a 45-degree angle, what we call the bicep method. So, gas it up here, and I'm going to show you how to go down prone. You shorten up your sight radius a little bit, but you do the same technique, but point the gun always at the target as you go down. This is the 45 version. You notice the techniques I've been using with the gun flat on the ground. The gun is much more accurate and more stable for shooting hard, accurate shots and for speed. You take the gun off the ground, the gun is very unpredictable how it will land back on the target. In the law enforcement world, for years they've told you never to put the firearm on the ground. I'm here to tell you that 99% of all firearms do operate on the ground properly. You notice I'm pressing hard on the ground with these weapons. It even works with an M4. Speaking of the rifle, going prone will be some techniques that you need to go out on the range and practice with. I'm going to show you a couple different techniques real quick, and I want you to go out there and work on going prone with your rifle. Prone shooting can be the most stable base when firing a firearm on a range, whether you shoot a handgun, a carbine, or maybe a 50 cal. Ideally is you need to go practice these things. Tony, let's go! That was a way that we're going to show you how to be able to get in and out of positions correctly. Today's pro tip is understanding how to move in, how to get around props, but the most important thing is setting up and be able to hit the target correctly. Most of our shooters on the range never get set properly to hit the target. So let's get started on moving into the boxes. We have a simple little technique we're going to show you here, learning how to get into the box properly. I always like to use my right foot when I come in position, whether it be for cover, a barricade, or a box. If I'm moving to the next position, I'm going to use the exact same technique. Each and every time I'm use the right foot, each and every time. Things I've always told my students over the years when shooting in our positions that I'm always teaching you, you're always going somewhere. So when I lay into the box, I want to have my knees slightly bent like shock absorbers. So when I'm lined up and I'm set up to that target, I want those hips and shoulders pointing at that target. As I come into the box with my right foot, I want that toe pointing at that target as I line up and shoot it. Now, the key thing here is that we're also setting ourselves up also for the draw. That will be very important when moving to a position to draw the gun. I just showed you an important part of how to set up. Next thing we want to be able to look for is understanding that the right foot comes in, has 80% of the weight. Remember, I'm always teaching my students, we're always moving somewhere. So this foot is going to be set up lightly on the ground with only about 20% of its weight. So if I'm moving to the left or moving forward, this is my support side leg I'm leaving out on. Now in the tactical world, there are never no known scenarios. In the competition world, we always know what we're doing. So you, as a firearms instructor, need to get your students to be able to go into boxes with their right foot and also their left foot. But the important thing we need to understand is we're always going somewhere. So our balance and footwork will always be important. The important thing is to be able to run a scenario at your range so you'll be able to land in position sometimes with your support side, sometimes with your strong side. You just saw some techniques on how to use your footwork properly. We don't realize how important balance and footwork is, especially in the tactical world. Things are changing. Our friends in law enforcement, we need to push our officers harder and better than we've ever done before. So good luck, and I hope to see you on the range.